Once upon a time, in the heart of a meadow, there lived a little hedgehog named Hazel. Now, Hazel wasn't known for being the fastest or the strongest among the forest folk. But what made Hazel special was her determination. Hazel had a dream, a longing to taste a very special kind of berry called the Cloudberry. You see, this berry didn't grow on any ordinary bush. Oh, no, it bloomed on the very peak of Skyback Cliff, a towering rock face that scraped the clouds. Legend had it that the Cloudberry tasted like liquid sunshine, and those lucky enough to eat it could sparkle like diamonds in the daylight. Now, Hazel had never climbed so high in her life. But every morning, when the mist lifted and the sun painted the sky with gold, she would gaze up at the Cloudberry and whisper, "One day, I will taste your sweetness." One morning, Hazel decided it was finally time to make her dream a reality. She wanted to be the first hedgehog to ever climb Skyback Cliff and feast on the Cloudberry. So after saying goodbye to her family, Hazel set off on her adventure. With a small leaf bag slung over her back filled with water, moss cakes, and her tiny walking stick carved from willow bark, she ambled out of the meadow and into the whispering woods. The path to Skyback Cliff wasn't an easy one. At first, it wound through the woods, passing by whispering reeds and lazy crickets basking on warm stones. Hazel walked on, her little nose twitching with excitement. The slope soon became steeper, the air thinner, and rocks tumbled under her paws. Once she even slipped and slid down a rocky path. But Hazel held on tight to her walking stick and somehow managed to scramble back up without a single tumble. After a while, Hazel found herself at a small ledge. Her heart was thumping in her chest. Her paws were aching and her sides were sore from all the climbing. Just when she thought about turning back, she heard a desperate chirp. Looking up, Hazel saw a small robin with its wing caught between two branches. Its leg was tangled in a mess of thorns, and it struggled to free itself. Hazel knew she had a choice to make. She could climb higher and try to reach the Cloudberry, or help the poor robin and risk giving up on her dream. Hazel looked up at the peak of Skyback Cliff. She saw the faint glow of the Cloudberry shining like a beacon in the distance. Then she looked back at the bird and knew what she had to do. Slowly, Hazel crawled over to the trapped robin, wiggled her tiny nose, and gnawed the thorns loose with her sharp teeth. The robin chirped gratefully, and Hazel felt a warm feeling spread through her chest. Once freed, the robin ruffled its feathers and sang a beautiful song of thanks before fluttering away towards the sun. With her heart full of kindness and determination, Hazel continued her climb. Higher and higher she went until the air grew cold and thin. The tall grasses gave way to bare stone, and the wind nipped at her face. At last, Hazel reached the cloud line. Everything was foggy. Muffled and mysterious, Hazel pushed through the mist and gasped. There, perched all alone on a stone shelf, was the Cloudberry. It glowed with a soft light. Shimmering like honey in the morning sun, it looked perfect. Hazel inched closer, her eyes sparkling with delight. Suddenly, she noticed something beside the berry. A tiny squirrel lay curled into a ball. His tail was soaked from a puddle, and his paws were scraped from a fall. Hazel hesitated. She could simply ignore the squirrel and quickly gobble up the cloudberry. No one was watching. After all, but looking at the tiny shivering creature, Hazel's heart went out to him. She remembered how she felt when she had stumbled and scraped her own paws on the rough rocks. She remembered the times she had fallen and skinned her nose or pricked her spines on the thorny bushes. Hazel knew exactly how the little squirrel must feel. Carefully, Hazel unwrapped her moss cakes and gently placed them beside the squirrel. Then she tore a patch from her satchel and made a tiny blanket for him to snuggle in. Hazel didn't eat the berry. Instead, she sat beside her new friend, keeping him company and whispering stories of the meadow until the clouds parted and a beam of sunlight touched the cloudberry. Startled, Hazel looked up and gasped. The berry shimmered with an otherworldly glow, lighting up her eyes. Then the most amazing thing happened. The berry split into two halves, one for Hazel and one for the little squirrel. Hazel blinked in surprise. The squirrel slowly opened his eyes and smiled. He looked at the berry, then at Hazel, and suddenly scampered into her arms. Hazel laughed, her heart overflowing with happiness. Together, Hazel and the squirrel each took a bite of the cloudberry. It tasted sweet, warm and kind. And as they sat on Skyback Cliff, sharing the magical fruit, Hazel knew that the real reward wasn't just the berry. It was the climb, the courage to face her fears, the strength to help others, and the choice she had made to be kind. And most of all, it was making a new friend who would journey back to the meadow with her side by side. From that day on, Hazel and the little squirrel, whose name turned out to be Chestnut, became the best of friends. They often visited each other in their homes, sharing stories of their adventures. And whenever Hazel ate a cloudberry, she always saved a little piece for Chestnut. Their friendship blossomed like the wildflowers in the meadow, reminding everyone who knew them that sometimes the greatest rewards come not from reaching the highest peaks, but from the choices we make along the way. And so the tale of Hazel the Hedgehog and the cloudberry reminds us that true happiness comes not from what we possess, but from who we are and what we do. Hazel's determination led her to her dream, but it was her kindness and compassion that made the dream come true. For in helping others, Hazel discovered the true meaning of friendship and the sweetness of the cloudberry, which tasted like liquid sunshine and kindness.